Hello guys, and welcome to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today. The Hoosiers, they are getting some new players. Fernando Mendoza, we're going to look at some highlights of him, talk about a couple of the things that he is doing so far on the team. And yeah, it's just between Mendoza, bringing in Hemby from Maryland as well. And yeah, it's just an exciting time to be an Indiana Hoosiers football fan. And yeah, we're just going to take a look at that and then take a look at the Indiana basketball schedule. So they play Winthrop. That's Sunday at 4 o'clock. They play Winthrop. I'm going to tell you, Winthrop, I've been watching some of their games, like what they do. They are like a helter-skelter team, which is kind of like the type of thing that seems to really bother this Indiana Hoosiers basketball team. But if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you for being here. This video is brought to you by BetUS. Use my promo code Indiana125 to save 125% on your first 3 deposits, and all of the AdSense revenue is going to T2T.org. I made the deposit to Tunnel to Towers. And I thought about how I was going to shoot a video and show a check on here, but I can't show my routing number from my checking account. So I'll figure out a way and I'll show you. And from now on, I'm going to donate 10% of the revenue of this channel to Tunnel to Towers. So I just love that organization, and they do a lot of things, and I have a lot of friends in the military and stuff like that. So it is something I just always want to support. But let's now get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Alrighty. So I'm more and more trying to make these live streams like my real videos, and it is a work in progress. So I have a bunch of clips here. So right here, we have all of the hauls so far. This was as of yesterday, what CIGNETTI is bringing in. So you got QB1, who's going to be, left the door open there, but QB1, Fernando Mendoza, I believe, unless something drastically bad happens, he is going to be a QB1. And then Roman Hemby that we got from Maryland is a huge, huge pickup. So he is a really good pass catcher. I believe he had and the stat is escaping me, but it was 700 some yards, passing yards, caught over 100 balls in his career out of the backfield. So maybe a little bit of a better pass catcher than some of the running backs we've had. And then the quarterback, we're going to look at some clips of him here in a second. As soon as I turned on just the tape of this guy, Mendoza, you could tell CIGNETTI, the one thing that really, really hurt us when we played the top teams and what Notre Dame's quarterback did that ours didn't, and that a lot of college quarterbacks can do. And let me pull your comments up here too. When you win, they will come. All right. And, but Mendoza, you just turn on the tape of this guy and you immediately think, he brought in a guy that could do more on the ground. So let's go ahead and just look at a few of the clips of him right here.
He's on the loose.
Alrighty.
Mendoza, pressure coming up the middle. He escapes. He's on the loose. Picks up the...
Mendoza off the play fake. Avoids the rush of Bain. Now Fernando into Hurricanes territory. And he's...
Callaway comes out. Thomas in. Mendoza throws. And that one is caught. Touchdown.
The action. Mendoza with time. Now the pressure coming backside. Flags fly. Mendoza's got a lot of room to run. And he's taking off and breaking away. Mendoza under pressure, he's going to take off. and goes out of bounds.
Mendoza looking for somewhere to go. He fires to a wide open Chris.
A 5-point advantage. On second down, Mendoza heaves it long. And it's corralled.
Play action. Mendoza steps up, delivers us.
All right. So there you go. Some clips of Mendoza there. Let me remove this off of here. This guy, he was committed to Yale when he was coming out. When he was in high school and coming out of high school, he was not really recruited to out of high school at all. He had some bites, I think, at some smaller universities, and he went to Cal really to be a third string there. And that kind of came into the season. He was going to be the redshirt freshman and sit out. He is 21 years old, so I just saw that he's 21 right now. So he was going to sit out, was going to be the red shirt, was fine with that. And he's just a really kind of hardworking kid, and he kind of really just kind of worked his way into their system there at Cal, and then they put him in there the first game. I saw a lot of people, his coaches and things like that, saying how impressed they were with him the first game, like what he was seeing on the field, just his professionalism and that type of thing. And this next is like a 1-minute clip of him talking about his work ethic. This is what I was really impressed with. And this is where I think Curt Cihnetti, who is a really good quarterback, you got to remember, Curt Cihnetti worked as a quarterback coach for a long time. And that's going to really help this Indiana team. So Cihnetti with the quarterback experience, then he coached wide receivers at Alabama. And, then he went on and became a head coach at the smaller schools. But Cihnetti, this is where his eye for a quarterback, I think he's got somebody who's really, really, really not even at like his ceiling. This Mendoza has a lot to be gained. Like they've said, like in between just high school and now, like he's gained a lot of arm strength. And that is the one thing. He doesn't have elite arm strength, but we know, Cihnetti has coached Phillip Rivers, and I watched Phillip Rivers the year he played for the Colts. Like, if you have great anticipation, you don't need to zing every ball into there. Anthony Richardson has great arm strength, but he doesn't have any anticipation. Those two things. So this kid is like a real kind of worker bee type of kid. And let's just take a look at this like 1-minute clip of him talking about his routine. And I thought this was very impressive.
5:30, in which I head to the facility, I walk to the facility. So around each day, I'll wake up around 5:30, in which I head to the facility, I walk to the facility, and I grab breakfast, and then the quarterbacks, the Coach Babb, or I'll meet with Coach Babb, or watch film independently, go into practice.
Under Irene! Gas ball! Let's go!
I'll hit a lift, whether it's a lift day or not. I'll do some extra core work, as I believe core is really important for the quarterback and how they generate power. And then Coach Babb and I will watch practice.
We look at it here, so we got Uzi. There's a couple things that we want to get to. You got 3x1 open really Uzi.
So one thing about Cal is that it's a really rigorous academic schedule, and it is the #1 public university in the nation for a reason. And luckily I was admitted to the business school here, Haas, so that's been a treat for myself. And I'll go to class about for the 3-hour regimen I have in the afternoon. I'll watch some film, and then I'll go home, do some homework, and probably head to sleep around 10:30, and then get ready for the next day. And it is essentially 2 full-time jobs. And it does put a lot of stress on you. However, my whole idea on philosophy is the more stress you have on yourself, whether it's academically, athletically, or just in your social life or personally, then that's the stronger it makes you. At the end of the day, I'm a competitor, and there's something that's such as...
Yeah, what he said at the end there, like the more stress you have on yourself, like doing all the stuff that he's doing, waking up early, just having the work ethic there, having the drive for the school. That he was recruited to Yale at one time, tells you that the kid must be a pretty smart kid to be recruited to Yale. I'm not exactly sure how that goes down, but I think you do have to be smart to go to Yale these days. But huge get for the Hoosiers. And Hemby, I believe he will, be a contributor right away for Indiana. We just looked through some of these other names, and, I could spend all day. The defensive lineman, Ratcliffe, I heard some things about him being really good. Now, we did get some really good news for the team. So it's Kamara's coming back. Aiden Fisher will be back. That's huge. Having, one key piece on your line and one key piece in your linebacker group still being there. And then, we do have the really good freshman coming in from Ohio, who I believe is a 4-star safety coming in from Ohio. So I don't know if he'll play right away, but just another guy to put pressure on whoever's playing safety to get it done. But yeah, not a single O-line pickup. And where do you find these guys? Where do you find these offensive linemen? And, I was just listening to, it was Urban Meyer talk about this. And there is, in the United States, just a real travesty. Kids don't want to play on the offensive line. So it is so difficult to find really talented kids that play like left guard that you're going to get to come to Indiana. Because, where do they want to go? They want to go to Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Alabama. They want to go to the places where they're going to be part of one of those like NFL offensive lines, and it's going to be tough. Indiana did have, and this is something that was not talked about, is like offensive linemen that went out super early in the season, and then we ended up losing 2 offensive linemen. But our offensive line was practically a lot of holdovers from last year, and you know how terrible we were last year. I mean, we won 2 games, so he got them to play better. Could we get some offensive linemen like to come in? I mean, a really good left tackle, but I think you gotta play with the players you play with. And Indiana, it's unrealistic at this point. We're gonna be able to get a good quarterback and some good skill players. If we could get a good offensive lineman, that would be huge. But I know that's going to be a really, really difficult thing to put together. So getting a quarterback that is able to run around more and do more stuff like that, that is going to go a long way, that our offensive line maybe doesn't have to pass protect as well as they did for Curtis Rourke, because we get a guy that can, sidestep a few people. This kid can definitely do some running and sidestepping, and he's big. He's 6'5", like 225. He's a big kid. He's going to probably just fill out here in the next few years. And he's got a few years of eligibility left. 3 years of eligibility left, I believe. So he was going to redshirt last year, but he ended up playing. And it's just all good things on the front of the football. And we'll keep you updated as more and more of this comes in. But the next thing, I want to get into talking about the basketball team. And I believe we went over just about everything in the football team. Mekhi Jackson from Appalachian State. Watch some highlights of him. Looks like a really promising receiver. Appalachian State, I'll tell you, they are a team in the mid-level teams, the mid-major teams, that does get some real players. I mean, there are a few out there like JMU, Appalachian State. So could that Mekhi Jackson, could he be a real contributor right away? Hopefully. Riley Nowakowski, Pollock there. So bring him in. You can always use a tight end. I believe our tight end is coming back though, 44, but don't quote me on that. And kicker Brandon Frey, a punter Mitch McCarthy. I'm not even going to comment on that, but there we go. Hoosiers bringing guys into the football team. This is we have, and for next year, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule for next year. I mean, if we could win 8, 9 games, could Cignetti keep this going and win 10 games? We play on the road against You know, we play on the road against Penn State. We play on the road against Oregon next year. So that is going to be where it's at. But let's get into talking about the basketball team, because let's just look at the schedule first, and then we will take a look at a few of these metrics that I have pulled up, because Indiana is just not here we go. So the schedule here, and I hope you can see it. We got Winthrop, Rutgers at home, Penn State away, USC. USC is one of our easiest games, and that's the next thing I want to look at, because Indiana is just, with this schedule, they are projected here and let's make this bigger. But yeah, here are what all the teams on this team ranking site, this is where they're supposed to end up in wins. And you can see that Indiana is very low down. In the next slide, I'll show you who is below us, but these are what UCLA is projected at 13.6 wins as their ceiling and 6.4 losses. Indiana is down here and projected at 8.5 wins and 13.5 losses right now, according to this. We got Northwestern right above us at 9 wins. We got Nebraska above them. Did you know that Indiana against Rutgers is 2-9 against them in the last 11 times we've played them? We've only beat them at home 2 times in the past 11 meetings. And we've got blown out by Nebraska the past 4 times. Like, something with this Indiana basketball team has got to change. And I think it's going to be the coach. So leave your comments down below, or leave your comments right here if you're watching live right now, because this is just not good. And we're going to take a look at who is just below them on this list here, because we can see USC, Rutgers, Washington, and Minnesota are the only teams below Indiana. To me, they are really going to have to fight to even stay where they are. 8.5 wins. That is with like a fighting effort, 8.5 wins. I really think so. And let's take a look now at their easiest games. So where do I got this here? All right. So these are what they, show metrics wise of the teams we play that we have the highest percentage to win. So you can see Rutgers and USC, those first 2 games, those are 2 of our easiest games. And then not till Washington, on our away game at Washington. That is a game that we have a 64% chance of winning, according to this site that puts all of these team metrics together. And just as you go down through, you can definitely see Penn State at home. Penn State has beaten us at home. I hope that is not a noon start game, because we come out at a noon start home game on a Saturday against Penn State, and we'll get our asses kicked by them. They have, Penn State has the same team back. Purdue, this is considered one of our easier games. We have a 47.7% chance to beat Purdue at home, still below 50%. But, when you look at that, what do you realistically think that the chances of this team to beat Purdue are? To me, not very good. So these top 4 games to me I don't even think they're gimme games. I think Rutgers at home, the first one, I think is going to be really a game that I don't think they're going to win unless they come out and they play better and they play more connected and together and just together on defense. Because now let's flip over and look at these are the toughest remaining games for Indiana. And you can see, are we going to win at Michigan State? That's going to be tough. Yeah, we have a 23.6% chance of winning that game right now. No, it's going to be really, really difficult. Ohio State on the road. Purdue on the road. Oregon is really good this year on the road. Penn State on the road. That's not going to be easy. Even Iowa on the road. We only have a 33% chance to win at Iowa. You know, you would just think that there would be a better chance than that. But away at Wisconsin, we know we have not won at Wisconsin since 1997. I mean, some of these records that Indiana's starting to hold at these places are ridiculous. And then UCLA at home, that's the bottom of our toughest games there. But, I mean, that is going to be a really hard game. UCLA is really favored to win the conference right now. And so, I mean, where do you see it? Leave your comments, because do you see Indiana winning 6 games, 7 games, 8 games? Do you think Indiana's going to go 12-8 and make the tournament? Because there are probably a lot of people out there that, you know, don't pay that close of attention to Indiana basketball. And a lot of those people out there are probably going, well, you're like 9-3, or Indiana's 10-3 right now. They beat Winthrop. There are probably a lot of people that just look at that compared to other teams, you know, and think, oh, they'll be fine. Like Indiana, they're going to make the tournament or whatever. And just, if you watch these games and you watch them get beat by Nebraska and really just completely fold up in the last 7 minutes of that Nebraska game, if you've watched these games, you just, that's what I'm really going at. Like, we get in the bottom 3 this year. If you aren't in the top 15, you don't make the Big Ten tournament. And I hate to say it, but this Winthrop game is going to be a real scrappy game. I was thinking about going down to that game just to see what the crowd was going to be like and what it's going to be like. So, I mean, I still might go down there on December 29th. But I'm telling you, I do not see any light at the end of the tunnel. And I was thinking about this. Like, if you start, and I've started businesses, when I started this business, Indiana Sports Connection, you know, you got to have like certain things. You have to have certain things that you're like, this is what the business is going to be about. This is what we're going to do well. I think it's the same thing as a basketball team. And, you know, I've heard people say like Indiana has no identity. Like, if I was going to come in as the coach, if I was going to like try to do anything with this team, I would only focus on 3 things. Like, you have to have a mission statement. You have to come in and say, defensive intensity. That's 1. Defensive intensity, rebounding, and shot making. That is the only 3 things that you have to focus on to be good at basketball. Defensive intensity, rebounding, and shot making. Those 3 things. Like, Mbako, Renew, those guys do not play defense at all. Or they play defense in a way that they're like almost trying to make it as easy as they can on themselves. Then Mbako in the last game, he gets like 2 fouls in like the first like 2 minutes of the game. He's not a consistent performer. There are no consistent performers on this Indiana basketball team. Like, you know, who is it? Galloway. I mean, Galloway, just as a senior, you think this guy's going to be a senior. He's going to be a leader on this team. He's going to galvanize these guys together. He is so inconsistent. I mean, really all last year from the Kansas game, played really well in the Kansas game last year, played really well in the Ohio State game. and had a lot of just ups and downs and in-betweens. And this year looks even worse. And there's just no accountability on this team. You know, if you remember like the play that Kanan Carlisle threw the pass to Mbako and it went in, like that was such a bad pass. There is something you cannot do in the games what you have not practiced in practice. If you can't make that pass and throw that alley-oop in the open court like that, and you're exactly right. Value the basketball. Robert, you are exactly right. Like, that's valuing the basketball. Knowing, like, I've never made this pass. Well, in practice, I've not practiced this enough to do it in a game. Don't do it in a game. I mean, that's just all there is to it. It's not that difficult. You have to, I don't know what goes on at practice. I hear Mike Woodson say they've had intense practices and he's really on guys. Guys are playing hard. And then they get out there on the court and it just goes completely awry. And you don't see anything different happening here and there. And for the football team, it's like the exact opposite. It's like, I'm going to tell you, I think Winthrop might win this game. They are a team that plays like this helter-skelter style. They are a team that plays like Nolan Richardson's like 40 minutes of hell. They're just like a team that's just going to like, that's kind of what I've seen from watching a little bit. So, you know, you play against a bad team like that and you have a 92% chance to beat them, and then it ends up being a close game. All of that stuff with the basketball team, it pulls down your metrics. Like all of that, your net rating, KenPom, Torvik, all of these websites that grade your teams, and then that all goes into the big bubble of the NCAA tournament. And if you have been looking at bracketology, you know that Indiana is not in the tournament as of right now. As far as the bracket goes, like I believe it's like Nebraska or Northwestern is one of like the first four out, and Indiana's not even in the first four out. So really, this team has like, they have to swim like they have to swim like salmon. This team has to swim against the stream and flutter up the river and win. I mean, they really have to win 12 or 13 games, which you can see the Big Ten is brutal this year. And not only is it brutal for the fact that we added 4 new teams, it's more brutal now because you have to travel longer distances. You have to play some games in places that you've never played before too, with adding these Pac-12 schools. So that's all going to make it more difficult. Mike Woodson's going to have to coach against coaches he's never coached against. Although he's coached against Nebraska's coach 4 times, and he's not even come close to figuring out a way to stop Nebraska from beating us like a drum. Nebraska has guys who are making $0 in NIL money that rebounded the basketball against us like they were complete world beaters. And this is the amount of money you have to make. You can make $0 and out-rebound this entire Indiana team. I got a couple of clips, and I can bring them up here before we go here because, and I never talked about this game at all, but these were just like some of the worst plays from the Chattanooga game, and they just got, Archie beat Nebraska. I mean, you know, Archie Miller, he was terrible for Indiana, and he really set Indiana back with his like bad attitude. And I know there was a lot of promise about him, and he just did not have the socialite, like to coach at Indiana. You really do have to be a socialite. You got to go out there and you got to shake hands and kiss babies and do speeches. And you got to, he did get the recruits to come in. Archie Miller did with Jackson Davis and Romeo Langford, even though they turned into, I mean, Jackson Davis still I watched him on Christmas night playing for Golden State, and he's really, filled out. Jackson Davis is really making a real kind of spot for himself in the NBA. You got to remember, he's got an NBA dad. He is a real professional type basketball player. Jackson Davis, he has that type of pedigree. So but let me pull up these clips here. No, he is not. He's not doing any of that stuff. So
They'll find one here.
yeah, here we go. Right here. This rebound comes down. This dude, number 24, right here. This guy just takes this coast to coast, and watch how this goes down. And it's like, right here, Galloway, you go on a dead sprint, get in front of this guy. Luke Goody is not athletic at all, and he gets completely juked out. But the other three guys on this play, they just completely jog. They just completely jog back. And let's just take a look at it again here.
Ballo tried to tip the rebound, but it is grabbed by Kiesler.
This guy's making $0 in NIL money, by the way. This guy is making nothing in NIL money. And there he is. There he is, just like taking one right to the house on us. And there was another play right here where the same guy just got an unbelievable rebound. And I got about 20 clips like this. I could make like a really long video just about this right here, but all right, let me pull this up here.
A lot of cutting, so a very difficult style to match up against early on. Mentioned that Winthrop game, that's the last non-conference.
Here we go. This three-pointer goes up, and I want you to just notice something. So, all of these guys, Renew he tries to block out a little bit. He does put a hand there, but overall, on this play, nobody blocks out. And then watch what this dude does, how he gets this rebound, because Bryson Tucker does not turn around right here. And I like Bryson Tucker, but you do not turn around right here and put a body on this guy, and it's just predictable what's going to happen.
Coastal missing the three. Offensive rebound yet again for Chattanooga. This time they get
just right there, not understanding, just basic fundamentals. Like Bryson Tucker right here, all he has to do, he's right there by the guy. All he's got to really do is block him out by the three-point line. He's just got to turn around and keep that guy held back there, and he just doesn't do it. And this is a fundamental of this entire team that just like goes on and on and on and on. It's rebounding. It's just like these little things where, and then it's the intensity. They don't play connected. They don't play together. So how many of these games do you really think that they're going to win? Because, right now I went through the schedule and I got them at about 6 Big Ten wins of the ones that I think they're going to win. And they're going to have to prove to me if they think they can win more than those 6 games. But that is about all I have for you today. Hoosiers football is getting it done, bringing in a lot of big-time recruits, and we got to see some offensive linemen. That is going to be, could they get now on the teams playing in the playoff? Are there some guys out there that we could target once the playoff is over? We will see. That is something. Indiana is a hot spot to come right now, and we've never had this type of, just people watching us. Now we got a good quarterback coming in. You get a good quarterback coming in, and maybe that will help bring better linemen in, better receivers in. But the Hoosiers getting it done in football and not getting it done in basketball. Leave your comments down below. If we win 6 games in the Big Ten, who's going to be the coach next year? Because that's right. And we got money for football players now because we filled the stadium. We got more and more collectives. And you know, what else helps these collectives in Bloomington are like more people eating at the restaurants, more people, more parking money, more this, more people buying merchandise. All of that helps every little part. You know, the guy who owns the bar down the street might donate to NIL now because he made so much more money because the football program had 8 home games and we were filling the stadium. But it's all super exciting for the Hoosiers and the basketball team. We're just going to have to see how this goes and where this goes in the next 2 months, because I'm telling you, I think it's going to get ugly. I don't want to see that happen, but the basketball team, unless they show something different against Rutgers, against Winthrop, there's no way I can really believe totally in this team. But thank you so much for joining me today on Indiana Sports Connection. And I hope everybody had a great Christmas and had a great holiday season. I've been here just playing my 3-year-old daughter. We've been just watching Bluey marathons and talking about Bluey and playing with Bluey stuff. And she got a Barbie dream house. And so we're just sitting around. I truly believe the time in between Christmas and New Year's, and you know, my birthday is on December 29th, so that makes it easy for me. But it's like the time between Christmas and New Year's, do absolutely nothing. Rest. Don't do anything. Come January 2nd, you get it back out there and live your life and work, and we'll start being, getting into the basketball games. But I almost said start being mad about the basketball games, but it's all great. It's a great time of year. And so I hope you all enjoyed your holiday season. Thank you for being here, commenting on the videos. The channel's growing like mad crazy. At 2,000 subscribers, I have a piece of memorabilia. And at 1,900, I also have shirts from Home Field Apparel and Rally House I'm giving away. So stay tuned for all that. Until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.